Former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker was called out on his own hypocrisy involving police brutality. This happened during an interview on Anderson Cooper's show, and something pretty interesting happened. Take a look.
To the sheriff I reached out to, the mayor didn't want support, the sheriff did, and we took action.
Right. I just think at a time like this, only pointing out what you say are Democratic failures, which I understand wanting Joe Biden to say something that he hasn't said, but not actually pointing out silence. You said silence is complicity on Democrats' part. The president has not even addressed the shooting of Mr. Blake. Now, I understand there's an ongoing investigation, and it's very important that investigation, because for all we know, some circumstances may arise that would more fully inform everybody's opinion about what happened, because we would know, what preceded this, or what was in the officer's minds, or did this person have a gun? Did this person have a weapon? Which seems the police say, looks like we lost your signal. Well, we apologize for the signal loss, but we appreciate Governor Walker's time. Sorry, live television.
So Jayar, I don't know, we might be unfair to him. Maybe he was trying to fix his camera angle and accidentally turned the camera off. I don't know, maybe we should give him the benefit of the doubt. What do you think?
I'm not sure in which scenario. First of all, I was just amazed that those bars came up like that right there, those rainbow bars. I was like, that happens? Next we're gonna see the static, those old school TVs like, I was like, what is that? Like, this is concluded. Tonight's, like, remember 1 a.m. in the morning or something back in the day, because I'm that old, when TV would go off. It'd be late enough that like, we ended our broadcast day. And it was like, and you wake up in the middle of the night like, oh, I fell asleep in front of the TV, I'm seeing static. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. I'm more amazed that those bars came up, because I have no idea how once you turn something off, or even if you accidentally disconnect something, that rainbow bars pop up. I'm impressed, Scott.
Apparently they do. I love how that's your takeaway from this. And you know what? I don't blame you, because Scott Walker is gonna Scott Walker, right? So I don't know if he intentionally turned off the camera because he can't handle the heat. But Anderson Cooper, to his credit, was making a pretty good point, right? So this whole thing about silence is you being complicit. That's what they accuse Democrats of. Well, I mean, we're seeing a lot of complicit behavior by Republican lawmakers who either, first of all, the worst kind, try to make excuses for the slaughter of Black people by police officers throughout the country. And then there are those who just sit by quietly and don't address the issue at all. Now, Walker has addressed the issue in the past. I want to fast forward to some of these graphics, and also note that former Governor Walker, was very much in favor of what the McCloskeys did in pointing their guns at protesters as they marched past their home. Right, so he's in favor of certain individuals practicing their Second Amendment rights. But when it comes to other people, well, he would use the exact same action to justify a police shooting. So let me give you the details. So here's a previous statement from Walker. This isn't the America I grew in. We've seen racial tensions worsen and a tendency to use law enforcement as scapegoat. This kind of attitude has created a culture in which we all too often see demonstrations and chants where people describe police as pigs and call for them to be fried like bacon. Okay, so I want to actually address the chants, because that's a common thing that right wingers like to. I don't care. First of all, it happened during one protest, and they love to like latch onto that as justification for murder. Right? For these types of people, for people to get murdered, that's what they latch onto. What happened to like words don't matter, right? What happened to, oh, well, you should need a safe space from words you don't like to hear. Who cares what they're chanting? What matters is who's getting harmed physically, who's losing their lives, who's getting killed. And we've seen multiple examples, endless examples of where the issue really is.
Yeah, I mean, you got the guns, you got the law behind you, and you got politicians behind, on both sides of the aisle, by the way, behind you and everything that you do. So what are you worried about what someone says and what name they call you? They actually don't. they use it as an excuse to continue their actions, to keep it real. Because if anybody really wants to read how in depth this is, the Plainview Project, plainviewproject.org, go to it. You can scroll through countless Facebook posts, social media posts that were done by police officers. Police officers also responding to social media posts saying some extremely disgusting things that had nothing to do with frying or pigs, but what they call citizens and what they say they want to do to them and how they laugh about it. Well, I feel like pigs and frying is the least offensive thing you can think of compared to some of the things they say before they go back to work and carry out those actions. So that's a part of it. I mean, I also wouldn't care if they decide to just talk trash about people every once in a while. But then after you talk trash about them, you go out and you make it happen. You fulfill those promises of what you want to do to citizens, and you do them, and then walk back away and say, I'm just gonna go back to work because I know my department has my back. So there's empty names and slogans because someone's mad about what you've done to them. And then there's the people who are carrying it out and saying far worse things and then doing it some more. Which one are you gonna be offended by? Really?
Right. I'm gonna give you a few more statements and then debunk some of what Scott Walker says, not because Scott Walker matters, but because this is the type of rhetoric that gets parroted by others who justify police murder. He says police officers across the country need to know that we have their back. As I've done throughout my career, I will continue to have the backs of police officers, sheriff's deputies, and state troopers, and treat them with the respect they deserve. No law enforcement officer should fear to do their job the way he or she was trained to do it. And no law-abiding citizen should fear for their safety from those sworn to protect us. But I want to be clear that the America that Scott grew up in, right, was actually much more dangerous for police than it is now. Because the way that they frame this in their efforts to defend police is, oh my God, I mean, it's a dangerous world, dangerous country. Their lives are always being risked while they do these jobs. But when you look at the numbers, you see that this country's actually a lot safer for police officers today as opposed to decades ago. Historical data, for instance, show that the job of an officer is still safer today than it was 30 years ago. Following a spike in officer deaths during the infancy of the war on drugs, police deaths have been declining for the past 3 decades. According to statistics reported to the FBI, 89 law enforcement officers were killed in line of duty incidents in 2019. Of these, 48 officers died as a result of felonious acts. Now, law-abiding citizens, however, continue to be shot down year after year at rates unlike any other wealthy country. In fact, let's take a look at this graph from the Prison Policy Initiative, which shows you what the United States looks like in regard to the total number of people killed by law enforcement in the most recent year the data was available, compared to all these other countries. You see Canada, Australia, Germany, the Netherlands, England and Wales, Japan, New Zealand, Iceland, Norway. I mean, come on, the United States is off the charts.
Yeah, so when you look at charts like this is one of those instances where you get it, where I wish someone had a chance to confront someone who decides to say that policing is doing just fine. What one of Scott Walker's quotes was that like they shouldn't be afraid to do their job that they've been trained to do. Well, this is what their training has resulted in comparison to other countries. There's only 2 conclusions you can come up with. Police are overzealous with killing people, or Americans are just really bad people. And specifically, the number of Americans you kill, and certain Americans that you kill, means they're particularly even worse people than the other bad Americans that we got, because we gotta kill them on the streets. They're all bad, right? Or there's circumstances that create those situations, or there's overzealous cops. So you gotta choose, are cops overzealous or Americans bad? Because both of those things sound bad for a politician to say. Americans don't wanna hear you say, yo, Americans, you guys suck. It's not gonna work. And also you can't go against your police. So this is when like facts and figures need to be confronted to have people really give the answer. Because you just throw out names and support for people, but never actually talk about why you support them.
Want to win a free electric scooter? Well, our partners at Aspiration and Zoom Electric are making it possible. All you have to do is head to tyt.com/greensummer for your chance to win.